I've got a confession to make to you two. I've finally bit the bullet. I have joined the 21st century. Oh. I have downloaded TikTok.
Fuck yeah! Finally! Jesus, well done. Well done.
I just deleted it.
And
what?
Did you?
No.
Oh. And I gotta say, I prefer Reels.
That's because it's like this at the moment. It's really shit.
It is.
About a month ago, it was quite good. So that's what
we're in a dry phase. You're getting Reels is still getting the watered down schlock from about 6 months ago, where it was actually good.
It's because it feels like, you know, when like you go into YouTube on an incognito tab, and like you're signed out, and it's just like, oh, this is the shit that most people watch. Where it's like every single video on my For You page at the minute, because I like obviously you need to kind of like teach it what kind of stuff you want to see.
Sports highlights and Mr. Beast.
Literally, there's so much Mr. Beast. I've never seen a single one of his videos. I'm like, oh, this person.
He came up on my
For You
page doing the fucking 1-2 buckle my shoe, and he clearly does not look into it. He just got him there to get a fucking viral TikTok, and that's it.
Yeah. For some reason, I think Twitter enabled, like, because I think I follow him, apparently. I don't remember doing that on Twitter, but,
I don't remember
also
doing that.
He's got notifications turned on as well for me, fucking for some reason.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Beast.
Something's broken on your... Someone's
I
fucking
think Elon Musk has just gone, Aidan wants to fucking know what's going on here, like, and he just turned it on.
Aidan must know.
I do have notifications on for James Gunn as well. Yeah. That one I actually did myself because I think I was waiting for... It was mostly for like DC news I just wanted to see, which unfortunately led to me seeing some minor spoilers for Guardians.
Oh.
Not minor spoilers, it was just like character reveals, which we'll get into later. But
see, this is like the perfect segue, like literally the perfect one, and I want to bring it to an abrupt end and ask you both, where's Zach?
Where is Zach?
Oh.
Last I heard, he was trying to run away from the police for alleged homicide, but I don't know.
Is everyone an alleged fugitive on this podcast? Is that what we slowly realise throughout each episode?
Yeah.
Fugitive?
No one's a fugitive.
No.
I think Michelle's actually just been extraditing each member of the team one by one to sort of cover her tracks. Send Zach back to Hawaii. He's got a mission to go. Like, Mish left some evidence lying around. There's some families to go and bribe. While Michelle...
This is our alibi.
Lays low.
You know in The Incredibles when he's looking at like the Kronos machine, it's like defeated, survive kind of thing. Because I've got a theory. I think he's exploring the world. He's on a quest to find the sexiest Isabelle amiibo. I think he's exploring each continent, looking under every rock he can find, and I think
by the time,
who knows? Okay. I've never played the game.
I think he might have been looking in the wrong place.
But I feel like by the time he returns, there'll just be like a jar in the background.
My working theory is that he was actually just too scared to face me today because I don't think I brought this up yet, but so a while ago I mentioned my 3DS was broken.
Oh.
Zach informed me that I could get it fixed at CEX if I brought it in. So the other day I took my 3DS into town, went to CEX, asked them to fix it, and I was laughed out the door. I was humiliated. They looked at me like, you fucking moron. No one fixes 3DSs anymore. Go on Amazon and buy it yourself, you fucking nerd. And I ran home crying.
As you should.
Interestingly, since then, Zach's been fucking absent. AWOL. So,
he was just sat back in the office looking on
Zach,
the CCTV.
This is a
like,
call out.
Ooh.
You fucking lied to me.
This is like...
This
not
is
a
ju-
team,
we're
we're
just
a time
slandering
bomb.
one of our members' name right now. That's what's
And it's
happening.
always the one who's never there
It's
to
always
defend
that
themselves. The easiest target of that day, and we're like, you know what? Fuck them.
So what do you guys think of Guardians then?
Really fucking good. I think should we do spoiler free and then go into spoilers?
Oh yeah,
a
no,
bit
like
later on?
if you're watching this, I'm sure you're either thinking
Likely
about
this,
watching
yeah.
it because you're a bit disparaged by Marvel, or you have watched it and want to know other people's takes on it.
Let's be honest, you're not watching this for us.
No. So I would. So we'll do like let's do like a brief couple of sentences on what we think, each one of us, and then we can go
Yeah.
into spoilers straight after that.
I
For
should
me,
have made notes.
I think this is the perfect end point for my Marvel journey. I'm quite happy with everything that's happened now. I'm good. I don't need any more. It was very fun. I really enjoyed that movie, and I'm done now.
I see that. I see that.
Any of you? Any sentences?
So you're not excited by the 10-year content machine, the
God,
5-year plan that's
If
come,
anything,
the
it made
17
me-
million project.
If anything, that looks more daunting than it did before.
I'll actually be switching over to the Lord of the Rings cinematic universe. Thank you very much. I can only handle one at a time. I thought it was just really fucking good. I had faith it would be. James Gunn, I fucking trust that man with every project that he's done, and I'm sure he's going to do fucking wonders at DC. I'm really looking forward to his Superman film. I think this is if you ask me, it's the strongest MCU trilogy now. It's the strongest series by far. Yeah, it was just a really good close off to probably also some of the best characters in the MCU as well, I think, and probably they're definitely my favourites at least. They meant a lot to me, so I was pretty pleased with how it all ended. But, yeah.
Yeah, it turns out James Gunn, he knows how to make a good picture.
It's
He-
true.
He does, I reckon, that James Gunn. He knows how to make a film, also. You know, I wasn't sure after the first three, but by that fourth one, because, Guardians 1, I was like, Guardians 2, I was like, oh, he's on the right track. Suicide Squad in between, bit of a weird diversion, don't really get how that fit in, but this one I thought, yeah. This is a
Where
movie.
does the Suicide Squad fit in the MCU?
I
That's
just
what I
so
wanna
true.
know.
make it make sense.
Honestly, give me answers.
Yeah.
James Gunnigan, what are you
Well,
doing?
I guess that's our spoiler-free take anyway. It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
there's not much else I can say without sort of going into spoilers.
It was
It's
just
an
good.
entertaining film that I feel like manages to pack in a lot of heart and a lot of love.
Yeah, I'll say that too. I teared up multiple times, and I find that's quite a hard thing to get me to do usually. Not that I'm an emotionless
Yeah.
I think the
fucking
cast
thing,
gave
but,
potentially some of the best performances of their careers in this film. Like, there are some moments that just you can see that they
Yeah.
care, which you don't really get. Like, the last person I think I saw that cared in the MCU was probably Robert Downey Jr. when he died. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Tom Holland, I think, still. When Aunt May died.
Yeah,
some-
that was a good moment, sure. Packaged in a 2-hour little bit of mess.
Yeah, no, I think everyone brought their
I thought you
fucking
liked that film.
A game for this.
It was fun. No, I won't say that No Way Home was not fun, but I mean, Zach will say it was not fun. That's why he committed homicide. But, allegedly. But, it was...
He's hunting down Tom Holland.
But, like, it's a mess of a film. I think there's only a certain
Some hot
sets
takes.
of moments in MCU where you can feel like the characters are making something that's worth it. Like, they feel like they're doing something worth it, which is why Robert Downey Jr. in Endgame is so, like, memorable, because he's putting on the performance of his career in that, for that entire franchise in that film. That's Robert Downey Jr.'s film. Whereas, like, you know, I don't think Chris Hemsworth was having as much fun in Thor: Love and Thunder than he did, you know, anything else that he's done in his career. To be honest.
Men in Black.
I'm sure he'll bring his A game for Transformers.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime.
No, I think I really liked it.
Cool.
I was very happy with the film. I saw it just the night of release. I saw it at midnight because we were told that we could watch it early, so we were going to do a preview screening, so no one brought guests, and then we just showed up and we had to wait until midnight anyway because the license didn't come through for our cinema, so we didn't get to watch it directly.
Yeah, I thought the
prior.
KDMs, like, Marvel's normally pretty tight on their
Well, we were
KDMs
told by our
Mm.
film buyer that it was fine, but no.
Is
It's
it,
just everyone but fuck us, I guess.
Does it come out tomorrow in the US?
Yeah.
It does. For people watching, we're recording on the 4th, so day after international release.
Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day. I'm gonna go look at some Lego after this.
Oh.
I saw it like 2:00 release day. It was for 2:00 on a Wednesday. It was actually fairly packed. Like sort of top 2 rows were pretty full. A few people down there. There was quite a few old couples actually who came to see it.
Did you see it in the IMAX?
No, because I saw a review and they don't have an IMAX. I would have liked to. If I go, because Emily's coming over,
Ooh.
and I know she wants to see it. But that's first week of June. But if it's still around, her and I might go see it.
I don't know. I know there are a lot of IMAX releases coming up.
Yeah.
But I got my fingers crossed.
Because I
Come
think
with Halo and IMAX? Is that in
in the Cineworld, yeah, they got
Cineworld.
like 4DX as well, but I refuse to try it. It just seems silly to me. Let me watch the film in peace.
I don't want to get sprayed in the face.
Yeah. I think this is one that you know, on rewatches, like, it'll still be good, but I think it won't quite hit the same as in a cinema. Just the scenes of, this is getting into spoilers now, but when Rocket's being experimented on and he's in the cages and stuff, just like the completely dark cinema, I think really helped with that. That is one thing I'll say.
That was really
this is the
difficult to
most,
watch.
yeah, this is the most unsettled I've been in a superhero
This
film.
is
probably ever.
I have actually made notes on different things that I wanted to talk about
okay.
specifically. That is one of them. I think it is potentially the saddest backstory that we've ever had in the MCU, and it is legitimately like you don't really get those moments. I think the closest that we ever got was Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness, where they were trying to do horror but didn't do it properly.
Yeah.
Like this is
this
just
is
like holy shit! What? How did
It's
that
some
get
good
approved?
But
You
This
know?
is the first time in a while where I was like, oh, they're pushing the 12A rating.
They
kind
really
of
did.
thing.
They dropped multiple F-bombs as well. Which,
They only spotted the
No,
one.
they only dropped one. It was the first
there was
one they've
another one.
ever done in the
was it the
MCU.
get in the fucking car?
Yeah, which I think is
Yeah.
the best moment.
Open
That
the
was-
fucking door.
That might have been the loudest laugh we got in the cinema. Was that line?
It was just perfect.
I don't know if I'm just a cynical bastard, but I kind of like take umbrage with the fact that, like, obviously it was used in a very funny context and everything, but
Yeah.
it kind of feels like it's Charles' first swear word kind
Yeah,
of thing,
true.
you know?
I don't know.
I
it
felt
didn't
that.
sort of. It didn't
I think
really
that's-
process to me that like it was. Oh, the MCU just did a swear. I don't know because it didn't really.
I think that's because
Registered
it's
to me
the
like that.
first one. It's because I knew that was the first one because it's been like broadcast everywhere, and that James
Yeah.
Gunn fought for it to
I heard
happen in
nothing
it.
about that.
Because I knew about that, I sort of when I said it was like, oh, finally they did it, I guess. But like, I probably wouldn't have noticed it because it just fits in, you know.
See, I've
Yeah.
gone into this film other than like the 2 main trailers that came out. I've gone in with like no other knowledge about it other than James Gunn was tweeting out some of like the test footage they did for like, you know, Rocket and Teeth and Flaws and Lila. So I saw that was what I was on about earlier. I saw the Flaws like character model before going in by accident, and like in a completely like just white like sterile environment because it was just test footage. But like seeing that first off, I was like, this is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And then seeing it in the film was even worse because the voice as well, just like a very innocent like child's voice coming out of this.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
always kind of like what Guardians has been about, and it's like no matter kind of how horrific, like
Yeah.
people might think you're
There's
not
some-
that kind of
yeah.
thing. And I
True.
thought I really loved that segment. It kind of reminded me a lot of like the first Toy Story with all of Sid's creations.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
people comparing it to that. No, that all that stuff, I found all that was a pretty tough watch. And I'm usually not that bothered by that sort of thing. So I imagine anyone like who's an animal lover going into this, like vegetarians maybe might find this a pretty hard. Like my sister, I know.
Clutching
that's a
a
weird
broccoli,
broad
just like
No. Maybe that's like a weird broad statement to make. But people, animal rights activists will probably find this maybe quite a tough.
You're going to be cancelled by the
Yeah.
vegetarians.
Yeah.
This
No, I
man
just know my
going a war
sister.
with vegans.
My sister's an animal lover, and I know
That's gonna be hard,
she's
yeah.
vegetarian as well. I know she's probably going to struggle to watch this.
I think
But I
it's,
also think it's
it's the moment where he is first thrown into the cage and he's just cowering, and it's
And he's,
such a
yeah,
juxtaposition to what we've known as Rocket for so long that like you could tell that affected the character so much.
when his
that
first words are just hurts.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so
Yeah.
sad. Oh.
Yeah, and I think James Gunn did a really amazing job at, like, we know the names of those three other characters. Like, the amount of disposable people that you just kind of, like, or characters that you meet in these kind of films where it's just kind of like, so, name me, other than the main people, name me 3 supporting characters from Ant-Man 3.
I didn't even watch it.
there was Chidi.
Oh yeah, I remember Chidi had a gun here.
I don't remember the character's name, unfortunately, but I just remember being fucking miffed because I really wanted him as Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Could still happen. Well, there was
Holes.
MODOK.
Oh
Darren.
yeah, true.
That's slightly off topic. I've seen people very upset that they wasted MODOK on Quantumania, but also it's the fucking multiverse saga. I'm sure we can get a different MODOK if they really decide they need one. Chill out. Calm down. I'm not trying to defend Ant-Man and fucking Quantumania, but that's hardly the biggest issue with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to a good film.
I wasn't expecting Aidan to be an Ant-Man 3
I know,
Quantumania
wow.
apologist today.
I think I said after seeing it, it's not as bad as people were making out. It's better than Love and Thunder. That was my point actually, because it was getting worse reviews than Love and Thunder, and I was just like, how? Fucking, at least this is a film.
Alright, so on my notes then, Rocket was one of them. The other, but connected to that, Chuck Woody, I don't know how I'm supposed to say his name properly. Chuck Woody, the High Imperial guy.
Amazing.
High Evolutionary.
Yeah, High Evolutionary.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the performance he gave. Like, that is some of the best acting I think we've seen as far as villains go in the MCU. It's just...
Have you watched
I hated him.
Peacemaker?
No, I need to.
I haven't finished it, but I've seen the first
So,
part,
because
yeah.
that's where James Gunn picked him up from.
Oh,
He
okay.
plays one of the characters in Peacemaker. I think his name's Amern. And he's like sort of their team leader. And like he fucking sells it in that show as well. He is probably...
He's one to look at.
He is a very good
He should be
actor.
doing way more.
He's gonna be
he's-
one of the next big things.
I mean, he's classically trained Shakespearean actor. He's been doing like a lot on stage and stuff, and he's also been like in bit parts here and there on TV. Like he was in an episode of Doctor Who and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just feels like he's been there the whole time, but people need to like just.
It's always
actually give him
someone
material that he can
shows
work with.
if someone puts him in a title role, you see him and you go, holy shit, I remember him in that bit. You know, it always happens. It's the the Ki Hui Kwan thing where you didn't realize he was in Goonies until you watched everything everywhere and like, oh yeah, he was in Goonies. You know,
Would it be a stretch to say they should just cast him as Kang?
I think now, yeah. I don't think
What,
you could
because
do
they're
it now.
both black? That's like the
No,
one.
not because they were just because because I reckon he could sell it. Because Jonathan Majors is fucking out.
Well, we don't know yet.
To be
He
honest, probably.
They're still pushing through with Ezra Miller. Like,
Yeah, but that's because their whole the whole DCU kind of relies on that.
But have you
film, doesn't
seen-
it?
The whole power structure of the DC is
It's about to change.
it's a small like caveat, but have you seen what a bunch of DC execs have been saying, like how the Flash will make people forget about Ezra's
It's a bit
things,
hopeful.
and it's like I don't know about that. It
It's-
might be
it's gonna
good, but I don't.
It's gonna do for Ezra Miller what 21 Jump Street did for Jewish people. Okay,
Kanye West likes them now.
Yeah.
Imagine being Jonah Hill and reading that and being like, wow.
Just like, oh, thanks, Kanye. Glad I could help.
Yes, no, but Chuck Woody is just insane. Like I needs more work in general.
Absolutely.
Legitimately, that was just the most harrowing, petulant child who thinks he's a god I've ever watched. Like
He did.
Holy shit.
His lines went pretty hard though. The was it "There is no God, that's why I stepped up."
Yeah, with him screaming that in her face, and then they
yeah.
all parlay anyway, and then he just takes over no matter what. It's
But also in like
ridiculous.
terms of screen time, he probably has about average of like other Marvel villains.
Yeah, true.
And so it shows that
Yeah.
you give like the right actor the right material and they can fucking make it work. Like Jesus, what a performance.
But like in that sense, like I also look at it, there's maybe 2 or 3 villains in the MCU that you could probably pick out and go, that was detestable. I hated that man. That was really bad. And like I think Thanos is one of them, and in this case now just like he's just in one film and like maybe 10 minutes of
yeah.
screen time, probably one of the worst.
I think he's set the
I
bar.
don't know. It's kind of like he threw everything at it.
just
but it
you
just
wait,
worked.
6 months time there will be those posts saying, "Did he really do anything wrong?"
Yeah, no, I can't wait.
Ooh. Yeah, they did a really good job of just making him utterly detestable, just irredeemable.
But yet you could still see that character's motivation. On
You
why
can
they
see
do that kind of
his
thing.
thought process, as fucked up as it was, but I also like that even the characters didn't give him really a chance to explain. When he's like trying to explain himself to Star-Lord like on the phone, and he just immediately just cuts him off like, "No, I don't care. Shut the fuck up. I don't care that your mum didn't love you." Just immediately like, no, just cutting him off. And then he also, I saw someone else online point out that he didn't get like some grand like final standoff against them. It was just he showed up, and then they just fucking beat down on him just immediately.
Because he didn't have any fucking power. He was just sort of a guy that wanted to be God and created someone who was smarter and better than him, and then tried to kill it.
There was a shot in the trailer that I thought looked incredible, and I don't remember it being in the film. You know the shot in the trailer of him with like his legs crossed as he's floating along, kind of thing. Was
Yeah,
that in
that
the
wasn't
film?
in the film, no.
Was
Yeah.
that? I don't remember that in the trailer, but that wasn't in the film.
But yeah, that's one of the things that I like. Like, obviously, he did have the gravity powers and everything, so he could
Yeah.
defend himself a bit. But he was a lot more cerebral, and he was always picking on these smaller animals and these smaller
relied on his
creatures, because that's just what he did. He always picked on
He created
those lesser than himself.
He created a war machine that was useless because he threw it out too early. The whole point of Will Poulter was like put up to be one of the like main like enemies in this film, and every single time he showed up, he dove into someone, exploded, and then disappeared for about 10 minutes.
Don't you think he's like the perfect himbo in this film?
I'm looking
I loved
forward
him.
to seeing more of him. Actually, I think that was really good casting. I know he's nothing. I know that was nothing like his comic character, and people are probably going to have issues with it. But I think it worked for what this film needed.
I don't think it
'cause
matters,
also,
you know?
with what it sets
Yeah.
up, he can then still become that.
Yeah,
Because if
This
you
is
just
him
get
very early in
that
his-
the right version of the
yeah.
characters right away, then there's like a lot
It's
less
like, where do you
room
go?
for them to grow, kind of thing.
No, I think it was just a good little comedic timing thing, and it also, because people were speculating on it, I think you get more out of it, like just
I think-
knowing that it
yeah.
wasn't really much, because you get the better villain anyway. But then this guy, he does become a Guardian in the end. He has like a weird arc of sorts where he's like being, just shouted at and destroyed by every single person around him.
Yeah.
And then finally he showed empathy by the Guardians, and he's like, "Oh, I can help,"
yeah.
because he is
I
just a
thought
child.
he was
He's been
gonna
thrown out too
switch
early.
over much sooner than that, but it was kind of good that he didn't.
Yeah, because I also quite liked how it was like whenever people spend time with the Guardians, they kind of start to get won over by them. And
Yeah.
You saw it
really
with
liked what they
Gamora.
did. And I really liked what they did with Gamora as well, because it would obviously then be so easy for them to just get back together at the end of the film. She's been like won over and everything, but it's like, no, this Gamora's like family of the Ravagers kind of thing. And I really liked how it's like she went on this journey with them and everything, but she still went back to the Ravagers because she's like, this is who I am.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And
really liked that.
vice versa. I love the idea that Gamora sort of became Nebula in this film, essentially. Like, I do love the character switch they've done over time, that it just feels so... I don't know, it was the moment when she showed emotion, like, as soon as Rocket was fine and she just starts crying.
Yeah.
That was like, oh wow, they've done something. You didn't really notice it as it was going along, but it's that moment that she actually does still have emotion in there somewhere.
It was nice as well that I think it's Mantis like recognizes that, so speaks for her and just says like, we're all really glad you're okay.
Yeah, because I think especially with Nebula, because it's been like little bits of development throughout all the different films, that's one of the moments where it does feel, obviously I know Marvel films get criticised a lot for quite how big and expansive it is, but that's one of the benefits of it, where it's like, oh, when it clicks in place, it really clicks in place. Because I think with serialized storytelling, you get the same thing as like characters that people have been watching in soap operas for like the last 30, 40 years, and they feel like they've really like grown with the characters. I feel like the Guardians films have been such distinct points of not only the MCU, but then like in terms of watching them in my own life, seeing who I was with when I watched the first one and then the second and the third, and just kind of seeing the characters also go through that, where it's like they're not going to be around or with the same people for the whole time, and then like ending off in different places that they'd never have thought they'd been like at the end of the first one. And I just thought that was a really like, oh, when serialized storytelling like this hits, it really hits.
No, I fully
especially as like watching it in the same like exact same cinema screen, like the row over from when I watched the first one 9 years ago.
That's a full circle moment. That's always
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, that's kind of like when it all hit me, and I went, poof, oh my god.
I think this is the first time I've watched a Guardians film without Aidan with me, and the first one
was
that
it
I
better
watched.
or worse?
No,
Yeah,
I
they're
was
loud
thinking
breathing.
that actually, because I think I was trying to remember. I know the second one I saw with you, and I was
We
trying to
saw in
remember
a
who I
huge
saw
group for the second one.
It was
the
we had a
first one.
very
It
big
was
group for
the
that
first one. It was you, me, and Angus, I think.
Yeah, I was trying to remember because I knew second one. I knew second one. Because I'll always remember the second one because there was that guy in the row in front of us who was
He was laughing every
every
joke.
single joke. You know the opening montage of group dancing on. He was fucking loving it. That was probably the best cinema experience of his life. And,
I felt so bad when
I
felt so bad when the person behind him shushed him in his ear because he just went
Yeah.
silent after that. It was like half an hour in and he just gone
'cause
silent.
I think because we were with Johnny as well. I think Johnny just turned around because Johnny noticed that.
Yeah.
And he just turned and was like, just let him enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
So-
we had a bloke like that in our screening of this one, where he was like on the end of a row by himself, like next to me. There was like
Yeah.
a chair between us, and he was laughing at every single joke, like every single like slight reference would come in and be like, oh, I know that, like, and he was like wearing a Marvel shirt and everything, like he was
Aw.
fucking living for it.
That's,
And then like no one would have the heart to like dare be like, oh sorry, mate.
Yeah.
Like, because he was like adding to the experience. Like we had people behind us who were like just talking about fuck knows what kind of thing, and like it was a thing of like the most British I've ever felt. Like, do I turn around and tell them, like kind of thing. But yeah, no, he was just like when they ripped his face off, and he was just like, yummy, like in the quiet moment, then everyone starts laughing and stuff. And it's just like, my man, he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying himself.
I wish I still enjoyed. I fucking loved this film, but I feel like that's how I used to enjoy Marvel films when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that some people are still holding on to that.
Yeah.
I did see it with my housemate Emma, who I don't know if I said before. She has a very distinctive laugh. She's aware of it. She's aware of it. We all say it sounds like a dolphin when she laughs.
Please, can you give us a dramatic recreation?
I don't know if I can. kind of just very very high pitched. But like so, because we had 3 seats together, and it was like view, so it was like those recliner sort of seats. Mine didn't recline, so I just moved further down. So she was maybe like middle of the row. I was like kind of right on the end, just because that was the only other space. And it was just any time there was a joke, I could just hear her just like laughing from further down the row. But no, it was nice. I quite enjoy seeing films with her, just because again she's similar to that. Like she'll just fully enjoy it, like regardless. And it's nice seeing a film, I think, with someone who just can just enjoy a film and not be overly critical of it. Even if we should be critical, sometimes it is just nice to not be.
I'm sure this was a good thing for you, so that you got the bad taste of Renfield out of your mouth.
Oh fuck me! Right, are we switching?
No, we're not switching. We're not switching.
We won't switch it because it's going to make a nightmare when we're trying to chop up the thing. But fucking Renfield. Oh, that is actually the worst film I've ever seen in my life. I saw it for free as well, and I felt ripped off.
I really enjoyed Renfield. I had a good time with it.
Middle of the pack. It wasn't anything special, but it was not great.
Mish, you've seen a lot of films of me, and I think that is the first one I've ever left and gone, that was fucking shit.
What did you like about it?
Nothing! Nothing I liked about it.
It's just
Nick
just
Cage
standard
tried his best.
3-star like American comedy.
I think I gave it 1 star on Letterboxd.
You hated it.
Just
I knew I needed to let that out so that you could move on.
I'd forgotten about Renfield. I'd blanked it from my head. But no, you just put it back in there.
God damn.
I can't quite put into words what I disliked about it. Maybe we should make a mini episode where I can just go off on a massive. Later on, I'll try and put it into words, and later on, I'll record a little clip for you to insert, and it's just me going off about Renfield for 10 minutes. But no, I can see what they were trying to do, but just fucking none of it clicked for me. It was all just, I don't know.
Well, at least now that you're in a bad mood, I would like to talk about the Devil's Advocate things that I might not have very much enjoyed in Guardians.
Alright, yeah, go on. You've wound me up.
To me, I don't think Gamora really needed to be there. I understand why she is, and I get the whole point of, it's supposed to be a character development for Quill, and it's also, to show that she's not the same person, and you didn't, the people saying that, he has to go find her. It's no, she's a normal human, a normal person that needs to go and live their own life now. I understand, I understand it was sort of to go, Quill has to learn something, but I think there's a better story to do, especially with the fact that he was dealing with alcoholism the whole fucking start of the film, and that was dropped. I think there's a better one to do if she isn't there, and he has to just sort of grieve for her overall, than to go for what happened, where he gets to talk to her directly,
I can very much see why you think that, but I think it's such. We've seen and experienced it in real life where you have to grieve someone because they're not there anymore, and you can't speak to them no matter how much you want to. And I think because of the sci-fi parameters of the whole story, I think it's even if you weren't keen on how they actually executed it, but I think it's such an interesting thing where it's it's the same person right there, but they don't have the same memories of you that made them fall in love with you. And then kind of having to go through that pain of say you woke up tomorrow and then someone who really meant a lot to you and was really close to you just had no memory of you anymore. Yeah. And it's kind of still having them, not that it's a dementia story or anything.
No, but
kind of just using the sci-fi parameters to tell her something that can almost if a friendship or relationship's gone sour and then you still want to speak to them but then you can't, and it's kind of
no, I fully I understand the sci-fi parameters is interesting to do, and I understand that they would try to do a different sort of take for it, but it really reduced her down, which I think James Gunn did a really good job of making her own human being or home person during it, but I think it really does reduce her down to a story device for Quill than her own person, which I think is the biggest thing that annoys me about it, because I think there is a better way to tell that story for Quill
Yeah.
overall, especially with the fact that they set up that early on.
Because also, like, Quill has always been head over heels for Gamora, but Gamora, like, it never felt like the relationship was... It was, like, a nice thing for Gamora, but it wasn't, like, what she defined herself by.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you. Like, in this film, it does feel like, okay, this is how they're defining Gamora,
Yeah.
her relationship to Quill, as opposed to
Who
anything
she
else.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. What do you think, Aidan?
I hadn't really put much thought into it, to be honest.
Fair.
It was, I don't know. I think to a degree, it was. I like when characters get to say goodbye, and I'm glad they didn't end up together, because it's also, you know, sometimes relationships just don't work out, and in this case, it didn't work out because she was dead and this wasn't actually her. But it was nice that he got to go through his, maybe I could win her back, but then it's like you can't really, because it's not her. You're not in the situations that led to her sort of falling for you in the first place, and you can't really recreate that. And I just think the fact he got to say goodbye and sort of get his closure for it, because when she first left, it was abrupt, and he never got to. So no, for me, I was just I don't know. I don't know.
It's something that I'd like to see explored in, like, the next Spider-Man film, because obviously now that they have lost their memory of Peter and what have you, I feel like if they just, even by the end of the film, have, oh, their memories are just back kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of sucked.
It's a lot more interesting if you have, like, if you see him, like, maybe speaking to her again and, like, them trying to, like, fall in love again or what have you, and he's like, I don't know, obviously you don't just want it to then become that, like, the sole focus of the film, but I feel like if you, because that's just a really interesting concept to explore, and then having to try and keep it natural, where, like, obviously you wouldn't want to force any love on anyone kind of thing. You're my girlfriend, trust me, just go with it.
Yeah.
But then trying to, like, have that naturally occur kind of thing.
In like the vice versa of the argument, like, as much as I don't think she really needs to be there, the one reason I think I advocate for her to still be in there, because I'm still, like, this was first thought sort of notes coming out of it. I love the idea of her having to literally tell Quill that, like, Nebula is who she was, sort of thing. And it's like, so you didn't really see who I was in it in the end. You just sort of saw the relationship as as yourself, and now you see Nebula as me, and you don't understand it. I think that was a nice moment. It sort of felt like the passing on of the torch idea of, like, oh, look, I'm not that person anymore, but you still have that support system around you, and I think you need to understand that. I think that also gives agency to the Rocket, like, friendship, because he was just like, he cares about him so much more than I feel like I've ever seen him care about him.
Speaking about the Rocket relationship, circling back to when you were on about Nebula realizing he was okay, I may have brought this up, I don't remember, I was thinking about it. I think that hit so much harder, because when you do factor in Infinity War and Endgame, like, those two characters were the only Guardians left for 5 years. They were all each other had for that 5 year like, space. And while they never explicitly, I like that they never explicitly, like, outright say that in the film. But you can sort of see that relationship had built up. And
same with, like, Mantis and Drax having, like, obviously I know it's not a 5-year gap, but, like, the holiday special kind of thing. They're like, oh, okay, they go off on their own adventures kind of thing.
Yeah. I think Drax sees Mantis as sort of a surrogate daughter, and she is her first friend.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that I really loved about the ending, is so much of media is obsessed with, oh, is this character going to die? Is this character... And obviously I know, like, a lot of the film is centered around making sure Rocket doesn't die, and it kind of, like, has the moments where you feel like he might. But the ending, I felt personally, was very satisfying, because it wasn't just, oh, let's kill someone off for a quick, like, tear-jerking moment. And it didn't feel like, oh, we're just keeping people alive so they can be in future installments. It felt like this is naturally these people moving on and going on to different things.
I have a couple notes on that point, though. I do think there is a lot of room for them to do more emotionally in that area, because I do think the moment when they've done everything to save Rocket, and they're like at the point and he's like dying in front of them and he has to sort of come back for it to be fine, I think it's a really nice moment where Lila says not yet, but like I think him walking off with his friends finally in the end, that's his final moment. I think that would be such a really cool character moment, but two, like it showed that he never wanted to, to show this to people. Like he carried this for himself the whole time.
Yeah.
And he finally got it to release for himself, and then now it's been made into the story moment, which I think if they learnt anything from it, it should have been that they had to save everyone, not just the children, which is included all the animals, which is why
they said not just the higher life forms.
Yeah, which I think it shows that that obviously they all have flaws and didn't understand the full message till Rocket pointed it out, but it's sort of I think it would have been so much more interesting if they saw him die and go, I cared about this raccoon, I'm gonna care about everything now, sort of thing. I think that if there was ever a moment for any of them to die in that film, I think it was when Rocket was they'd done everything and it didn't work, and then they're fueled by rage in that moment. But that's as far as I could have gone with the killing.
Yeah, but I also think if they just had Rocket out of commission for the whole film and then just die, I think it would have felt a bit dissatisfying, because even though we were seeing him in flashbacks and stuff, to just have him,
because it kind of felt like James Gunn was like edging you, where it's like, is he gonna die?
Whilst I was convinced at least one of them was gonna die going in. I think I was convinced Drax was, honestly, just because I know he said he was done with the franchise and he was very outwardly against Disney during the whole James Gunn situations. But no, I was pretty relieved that none of them were, and like you said, I think it's just nice that they all actually got a happy ending.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if any of the characters deserve it, it's these ones. And on the topic of Rocket's backstory, I've seen some people. I saw someone made a comment somewhere, I think it was Twitter, basically like, why did they wait this long to show Rocket's backstory? This should have been shown like ages ago. And it's like, I feel like you kind of missed the point.
Yeah.
Because I think also it could work, but it would not hit nearly as hard if we immediately know all this stuff about him, as opposed to meeting this fucking asshole, falling in love with him over time, seeing that he's got this pain that he's hiding, and then finally getting to see what that is. I think
it also like actively does not understand trauma in general. Like the whole point is that he didn't want this to be brought up. Like it wouldn't have ever been brought up if he wasn't on his deathbed, and it wasn't because of his past.
And like Quill was the viewpoint character of Guardians 1, like that's who the audience were following throughout this meeting, all these different characters and whatnot. So it would have just felt really weird and tonally off, because Guardians 1's a very different film, to then suddenly have all this trauma explored.
The only other thing I had specifically is on the point of them all leaving, separating off and being done with it. The only person that I didn't believe during the whole of it, and it's weird that he's the one that started it, was Quill. Because it just felt weird when he said, I need to go and be with my grandparents. I was like, why? Huh? It didn't, so there was like one moment that Mantis brings that up, and that's it.
Yeah. It would be different if, like, when he was in his alcoholic phase for 30 seconds, where, like, if he was, like, looking at the picture or something.
Yeah.
And then you could see, he's been thinking about it quite a bit, and I feel like there could have maybe been a few more moments throughout the film where he's, like, looking around and he's a bit like...
Because I think it was just Mantis brings it up, and Gamora throws him the picture, and that's it. Really. Which, rule of thirds, I guess. But it didn't really, I don't know, it didn't really hit. To me, as soon as he started doing it, I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was going to stay on. Like, out of all of them, he's the one that stays on. maybe Rocket as well.
Well, I mean, it
but,
did say
yeah.
Star-Lord would return, so I don't know if that's just
Although
passing
apparently
of the
he's
mantle or...
said that he's open to returning, so it doesn't look like they actually
Yeah, I
have
don't
anything
think
planned.
he's specifically contracted to return yet.
So it's interesting they went for Star-Lord will return when they don't actually know that, rather than like the Guardians.
Unless they're passing on the mantle of Star-Lord to what would be Will Poulter.
No, because Will Poulter's character in the comics is just called Adam Warlock. I don't think they'll go for that.
It would feel quite odd if Warlock then just was like, oh, I'm...
Yeah, and Rocket's finally actually taken on the Rocket Raccoon
Yeah.
identity as well. Which went surprisingly hard in the film.
It
You
really
wouldn't think a raccoon going, "I'm Rocket Raccoon" would go that fucking hard. But,
I don't know if it's just because I'm like, obviously a lot of the Marvel discussion in the past few years have like solely been on a few comments that Scorsese's made, but in this one especially, I think it's because it stood out more because it had, while I think it balanced it all really well, in having the comedic, the emotional, and like the action moments and stuff, it kind of felt very apparent to me of like, oh, okay, we're now in the theme park section where now it's going to be this big fancy like one shot thing, and then oh, Rocket the Raccoon, and then like it's because the bloke next to me was like cheering, I was like, oh, okay, like it's the same as like when they told Andrew Garfield like, when you take your thing off, pause for a moment because the audience will cheer.
Yeah.
And it's like it just feels like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is kind of like a hell yeah as you're going down along the roller coaster kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, it just felt a lot more apparent in this one than it has maybe in others.
Maybe in that moment, though, I don't agree specifically in that moment, to be honest. There's lots of moments in that film that feel theme park ready, and I agree with that, because I don't think you can do specifically a MCU superhero film that doesn't feel like that anymore.
so
But I think in that moment, it feels like, oh, they finally all managed to come back together. It's a moment of like unity finally. I think there's a point to that one rather than what has been the action maybe most of the other times that they've gotten together.
Yeah,
like even the bit in the when Groot has like every single gun in the world just shooting out, like it's a fucking cool moment. It reminds you of Guardians 1. That's it. It's just a theme park ride, that moment. Because he then just jumps out the building without really talking to him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because I thought, oh shit, they're going to leave Groot behind and then he's going to get him. But yeah, I think it still felt like a theme park moment with the big one-shot thing, even though I was like, yeah, no, this is cool. Like, even just on a technological level, the mix of like all the CG elements and the live-action stuff.
Nebula was fucking cool. Like,
together.
Her breaking apart
like,
and it's still like feeling normal. Like, I don't think they would have done that in 2014.
But I think that's, like what you were saying, where it does feel like an earned character moment where it's just a part of the story as well. And I feel like that's where James Gunn succeeds a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I really like Andor, where it's like, instead of just the writers going, insert action scene here, it's like, no, show us an interesting aspect to this, like from the outset of, here's why it's interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the different take on it, like the one in Andor when the things are falling from the ceiling. And it's not just insert action scene here, throw a few punches, jobs are good. And it felt like these characters are really earning and fighting for this kind of thing.
I want to sort of touch on that as well, and I think everyone has a sort of idea on that. Is you know how sort of MCU itself now is trying to go a bit more directorial focused, which is why they had Sam Raimi and sort of bragged about it being a Sam Raimi film sort of thing. And
same as on here, like a James Gunn film.
This felt the most to me, and I think it might just be because James Gunn knows how to write MCU dialogue. Like, I think that's just the thing that he's always done that. I think he did it with Scooby-Doo. Like, he knows how to write fucking that sort of one-liner moment that's gonna sell a fucking ticket or put in a trailer sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, he knows how to write that sort of stuff, and then also have the moments that feel like emotionally scarring and stuff. And because he was given so much freedom to tell such a fucking harrowing story with Rocket, I think it's the most auteured film that I think the MCU's done for a while. Maybe, I think ever. Like, I don't really think there's many that you can feel their influence out of it. Like the trilogy feels like a James Gunn trilogy, sure.
Yeah.
And 2 to me, out of all of them, is probably one of the best MCU films there is. 2 just
Yeah, I
you
think
cry
2's still my favourite.
that funeral is the most sad thing I've ever watched. But it is just how much James Gunn had the freedom to do what he wanted to do, because he, played by the rules and did what the Marvel expect of him as well. Like, they couldn't really tell him, oh, I need you to tone down the rocket stuff. It's like, I don't know how you can tell that story without doing that, I think he just managed to do it so well, and he was given the freedom for it because of it. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think is any that really rival that? I think Taika might have more of a chance at anyone, but then that's only in Ragnarok, and just because it's his style of dialogue.
I think with the Guardians films, they've always let him do what he wants to a degree, more so than any other director. And I think that's because they are the most disconnected from the Infinity Saga, Multiverse Saga, whatever. And so I think he's always had that leniency given to him. I think he's also probably fought for a lot of stuff, because I think when there's something he wants in a film, from what I've seen him talk about and just what's shown up in his films, I think if he genuinely believes something's in service of the characters, he will fight for that to be in there. And I'm imagining there was quite a bit of that with this, because I'm sure at first Marvel were not easy with the amount of just
gruesome.
Just gruesome shit that was put in here, because I was gonna say animal abuse, but it's because it is, but it's not outright. Oh, they're beating up animals. It's the experimentation. It's the sort of body horror that they're doing on them. So no, I think you're definitely right. This probably is. It's absurd to me that this is fucking more disturbing and creepy than Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is they finally learned their lesson and are actually letting them. I also wonder, with the whole kicking him off the project, then bringing him back, I wonder if they were maybe extra lenient with him, because they were like, oh, sorry.
I think also he just knows how to make an entertaining, crowd-pleasing film, because he said before how Warner Bros were amazing collaborators throughout the Suicide Squad, because they kind of had the same vision for the film and what they wanted it to be. And obviously there are examples of the exact same studios in both scenarios maybe being a bit more pushy with certain filmmakers, because maybe they didn't have the same view of what the project would be to begin with. And so I feel like he's kind of not an easy sell kind of thing, but he knows what he's doing. The studios know, okay, this is the kind of film that he makes, because it's kind of in their wheelhouse but distinct enough to be a James Gunn film.
I mean, also, we know he can make crowd-pleasing ones. He also has roots in, he's done horror as well before, so I don't think it's a stretch to say that he could do both. I don't know, because I think it's always been his trilogy, really. These are his films, and I think there's also, they probably to a degree were like, well, it's your films, we want you to finish it how you wanted to see it close. And I think I'm interested in, I know he's said, there was an interview I saw of him where he said oh no, I gave the Russo brothers the approval to kill off Gamora, because he was basically saying that he was originally going to kill her in 2.
Yeah, because she was done with the character. Because
Zoe Saldana's always said she didn't want to do that many. So it's interesting actually. So she's still just knocking around, but I imagine if she does ever show up again, it won't be for quite some time. But then he decided Yondu worked better for the story in the narrative, because it was all about fathers. So he switched gears, and then when the Russo brothers wanted to kill her for Infinity War, he was like, yeah, that works. And then obviously they then brought her back for Endgame, which kind of undid his oh, this works perfectly, but then it's oh shit, never mind. But also, and this is very nitpicking, they broke Star-Lord's helmet at the end of 2.
Yeah.
Ego breaks his helmet, then he has it again in Infinity War and Endgame, and then it's just gone again in this film. But now this is fucking cinema sins level nitpicking. So does he have the helmet or not? Because if he does, the scene where he's fucking dying in space,
He's just an
doesn't
idiot.
work. But also they've established that he just doesn't have the helmet because he didn't use it the whole film. So I think it's more James Gunn broke the helmet and he's sticking to his own continuity.
What moment did he have it in
Like-
in Infinity War?
In like the giant fights, there's the
Yeah,
moment
he
where like
always
he
went,
meets Gamora and you see him take it off because he's like looking at Gamora.
Oh yeah.
When they come through the portal, he like does the helmet thing.
Did he lose it in Love and Thunder?
I did wonder that.
But I
just
don't
couldn't
want
be
to
bothered
rewatch
to go back
Love
and
and
check.
Thunder.
I highly doubt for Love and Thunder put the foresight or fucking. I doubt they gave a shit to be like, oh, we need to make sure we put a scene in where Star-Lord's helmet breaks, actually, because that's very important for the next film coming up.
Someone rewatch Love and Thunder and tell us, because I'm not
Shall I
going to
look
do
now?
it.
That's what Zach's off doing right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
We got Zach behind the scenes fact checking. I doubt it.
Yeah.
I do wonder if he has it. I think it's more just James. I doubt it was his like long term plan of like I need him not to have his helmet in the next film, so this works.
Yeah.
But I mean, he broke the helmet for a reason, I guess, because he then took it away again. I'm looking up. I'm looking up Love and Thunder.
You don't. Okay, whatever. The final thing I wanted to say though, out of all it, because I think it was, I don't really have anything else really like that's nitpicky or that I didn't really like. But do you think you're gonna really try with the MCU again after this? Because to me, I might watch Loki, and I'll probably watch Secret Invasion purely because Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson could be fun. I think that's it.
I've got a lot of faith for the Marvels because one, I think it's a really interesting concept, and I'm excited to see them do interesting things with those three characters. But also, I adore Nia DaCosta's work so much. I feel like she made an amazing Candyman film, and she did some really interesting work on TV and stuff beforehand. And I've got a lot of faith in kind of like her creative vision and output, and so
Yeah.
I've got a lot of faith in that project and really interested to see what they do with it. But that's one of the things that I kind of want a bit more going forward, where what I liked about this one, like with Guardians, is it wasn't universe-ending stakes. It was just, this is a very specific story, and like, yeah, I know he was like destroying different worlds and creatures and stuff, but it's not like it was the fate of every living being or like half of every living being like weighs on this. And it looks like with the Marvels they're telling a bit more of like a smaller story with like them just like switching places whenever they use their powers, and like Secret Invasion and stuff. It feels like the main thing I want is just smaller stories where it's not universe-ending stakes, and just to tell good stories. And so I've got faith. I think I'm not going to be watching every single Marvel project like I used to. I'll be watching like more of the ones that interest me. But yeah, I don't know.
I think my thoughts on the MCU are a bit scattered at the moment, so bear with me. I think it's easy to say like, oh yeah, after this one, it's the last one I cared about, so I'm done with the MCU. But at the same time, I've never thought of the Guardians as really part of the MCU. They're very separate anyway, so I feel like it's a redundant statement to make. This is like, these were some of the last characters I cared about. I think other than I liked Ant-Man, not really anymore. I think I want to see, when it comes out, I really want to see the Fantastic Four film. Just because I like those characters, and I'm hoping they can do them justice. Speaking of, people say like the franchise has flopped like twice in a row. The first franchise actually did pretty well.
Yeah, I like the
what was it, the Chris Evans one?
Yeah.
Those went well. They got a fucking sequel. It's only flopped once.
Yeah.
So let's just be mindful of that, please. I think, what am I saying? I don't know. I think it's going to be very pick and choose for me with what I keep up with, because I've still I've not watched I've not finished rather Ms. Marvel. I mean, I got about halfway through. I watched She-Hulk. It was fine. I'm not going to bother with season 2 of What If. I really just don't care. I don't know. It depends. If there's another Spider-Man coming out, I'll watch that. I like the character. I think it's also to a point now where with everything they're setting up, not everything is a central thing. I feel like it's more like the comics at the moment where you can just pick and choose what you want to see, and right now nothing really ties together, and so it doesn't really matter if you're skipping some projects.
I always worry about that though, because it was the point of I used to pick and choose with the MCU before Infinity War. Like I did watch Guardians when it was coming out, and I watched like Spider-Man when it was coming out, and I've seen bits and bobs, and because I wanted to watch Infinity War, it was like now need to watch everything very quickly so that I can watch this one cool moment.
You didn't watch everything though.
The only thing I didn't watch was Iron Man 1 and 2.
Have you seen Incredible Hulk?
No, but...
Fake fan.
Okay.
Fake fan.
I'm sorry.
Boo. No, I remember, because you were like, yeah, I skipped the ones that are meant to be bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not how this works.
Just because I didn't have enough time, okay?
You don't get a choice, Michelle.
I didn't have a time.
You're in it or you're not.
Either way.
It holds like a gun to your head.
Either way.
This was...
I want to pick and choose now, but I know several years time when the Avengers film does come out, I'll end up binge watching it all anyway because I want to watch the fucking thing. It just means they're not going to sell as many fucking tickets, but it will still be as big as it's always ever been, which just sort of depresses me in that fact of I think it has these claws in me now, even if I did come to it so late. Has these claws in me and everyone else that it's even if you did want to stop, I'm gonna stop. Like I'll probably watch the Marvels only because I have a free ticket, but I don't know if I care about most of the other projects that are coming out. Fantastic Four would be interesting if they do it good this time. Like,
how dare you?
I don't need to fully care all that much until the Avengers film comes out, and then I do a fucking weekend on Disney Plus.
But I feel like, I mean, they've definitely got like the financial backing to do it and everything. I think it's the kind of thing where after Endgame, people were also like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna dip, and then obviously Spider-Man came out and everything, and everyone was like back in on it, and now everyone's like, oh yeah, now Guardians is finished, I'm like gonna dip. But I feel like it could be the thing where in 3-4 years time, a lot of like general audiences are like, oh, they're still making those things, but then I feel like when there's a good enough like one to release, like with Guardians 3 or what have you, there'll be good enough word of mouth where everyone's like, yeah, we'll hop back in, I'll see what this is about, kind of thing. And because it is just so readily available on Disney Plus, like you say, just having that like quick binge of, oh, here's everything you missed on Glee, and then catching up on it all.
Yeah, it's just a box set, innit? That's what it is.
I'll be interested to see when or if they do another Guardians with that new team or a different one, but under a new director. I'll probably check that out because I'll just be interested to see like how it feels in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably wait till Disney Plus at this point. I can't lie, I'm not. It's not like a priority to me anymore. It's not like I need to see this so that I don't get spoiled about the end credit scene. It's like no one's posting about it, at least on my timeline anymore.
Also, I've just skimmed through the opening of Thor: Love and Thunder. He doesn't have the helmet.
So he lost it in between those times.
Apparently, yeah.
There you go.
Thor sat on it. No.
Yeah.
Thor sat on it. That's my head canon.
Wow, that's some fat phobia right
This brings up an interesting point I've seen other people talking about, and apparently I've missed a bunch of shit, but apparently we're shitting on the Russo brothers now.
Yeah, apparently.
They said I think one of them is very into AI generated.
They're not very into it. That what he did say was that at some point AI might be quite useful in creation, which I think is true. For example, we've edited this one with AI. Like we're trying and seeing what things happen.
Yeah. Is this more just a case of he's said some iffy things, but Twitter's sort of?
I just think people,
to my understanding of it, yeah. But he did also say something like there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go to a streaming service in the future and give the input, I want a romantic comedy starring Marilyn Monroe and myself. That's a bit like...
That's a bit weird.
It's your first things like deep fake romantic stuff, like...
Yeah.
How about no?
Because I've seen, there was some people talking about how, like, in Infinity War, they just sort of came in and undid everyone else's projects in a way, where it was like, so after Ragnarok, they were like, no, Thor actually is going to have a hammer, and he's going to have an eye again, and also, I guess to a degree, Star-Lord has a helmet again, and actually, yeah, we're taking away Gamora, but no, you can have her back.
I mean, is that not more the state of Marvel as opposed to, like, just the Russos?
Maybe, but I think they sort of bear the burden of that, because they were the ones who did the films.
I think Feige has more involvement in that than anything. Obviously, they get to write it and everything, but Feige oversees it. It's the whole fucking She-Hulk thing where he is God essentially of this universe. Like I really hated that. She-Hulk. That was the most.
Feige stepped in.
That was the worst thing when in She-Hulk. We're not gonna go into She-Hulk, but it's the worst thing in She-Hulk when he fucking they go back. It's a really funny joke. But it is just him implying he is God of this universe, and we should all bow down
that
to him.
implies that he wrote that joke. Someone else might have, like, he signed off on it. He might have just been like, "Oh yeah, that's funny."
It's just a weird moment.
We don't know, but
it would have been better if it was just going up to the fucking actual Kevin Feige and him just cowering over it.
I also don't want to get into the AI debate, but just the idea of that making art is like, no, that makes content to fill space. Like,
so I've got like a few, you know, I'm pretty aware of the whole like, is AI art stuff, because I'm doing an illustration degree. Cut that one out. I'm doing an illustration degree.
Greg.
And so like it's something we talk about at university a lot. I don't see it on Twitter because a lot of the artists I follow discuss it, and it's always someone just tweeting out like you couldn't tell, but this picture is fully AI generated, and every time it's just the replies are just like zooming in on the hands because you can always fucking tell. But it is getting close. But I'm not at a point where I'm posting my art online, so I have no worries of my art being stolen or anything, because also who would want to steal my fucking art? But it's an issue.
But what you like jizz isn't like, it's beautiful.
It is good. I've just not put it anywhere yet.
It was it's if you've seen that fucking Wes Anderson Star Wars AI generated thing, and then they just cut to some random fucking guy and say Timothy Chalamet as Luke Skywalker, and it's like, that does not like even close to Timothy Chalamet. Like, you didn't even try.
It kind of feels like, I don't know, it just takes recognizable visual elements without knowing why certain things are placed there, why, like, actual intent behind it, the actual artist, the voice, that's the whole reason why anyone would presumably want to consume art, is like because it has a voice, it has something to say.
It'll be that in a few years' time there'll be a job posting for AI whisperer, and you know, someone will take that role on and be able to get out something that's art level sort of thing, where people can actually speak to them and give them the specifics that the AI requires so that they can make a thing. But that's like years down the line of a skill that needs to be trained, that an AI will eventually learn itself.
But that's like a worry, like trying to make a career in a creative industry like what we're trying to do, where it's like, I could see a lot of writing jobs being like, hey, just clean up this AI script, give it a bit of flair, make sure that it...
Well, that's part of what the writer's strike's about at the moment.
It's going to end up getting regulated somehow, but it'll be interesting to see...
How?
Yeah, how and to what extent and how long it takes, because I view it sort of as like we might have spoken about this on the last podcast, but you know, like the child labour laws in terms of like acting and like how they eventually brought that in, but before then like kids were getting overworked, and I think I don't remember if I brought it up with you guys, but there's the same sort of thing is happening again, but with like TikTok and YouTube, where it's like child content creators who, you know, it's not them, it's their parents making them do all this content, and like realistically that kid's getting like barely any of that money if they're lucky. Like the parents might be putting the money away, but it's more so the kids just the parents using the kids for money and content. I don't know how I've got onto this from AI, but my point being, it will end up being regulated. I think it's just, honestly, it's probably going to be like something horrific has to happen first, where like someone tries to put out a film starring like a dead actor without like the family's permission, or
Yeah.
I don't know, like a fucking child actor. But I don't know.
I think that's sort of the evolution of it feels the same evolution as NFTs, where at some point there is a high chance that this may become a reality, like a thing that's actually useful and needed. But when you're trading fucking pictures of monkeys on the internet, I don't think it fucking matters.
The NFT things are thankfully they seem dead now.
Yeah, at some point,
Brie Larson still has hers.
At some point, I can see crypto being like a legitimate thing if they try and implement like these AR sort of things to our world. You know, at some point AR might take off. Who knows? But I see it in the same vein as AI would be eventually trained to a point where it is useful for some things, and most industries will fight for their jobs still, and that'll get it regulated into places like secretary jobs, which, you know, you could then have a business open 24/7 because an AI could take calls and schedule it for someone else to take on, sort of thing. And it's that sort of idea of people think we're there now. People think that AI can create a film right now, and AI cannot create 4 fingers and a thumb. Like, they don't know how to do that.
So that wasn't me trying to dog on Brie Larson, by the way. She was just the last person I saw on Twitter who had a...
Yeah. But that's the
Why
sort
do you
of...
hate women, Aidan?
But that's sort of the point, is I think we're not there yet, and the reason that it's so such a point of contention at the moment is people think we are. And at some point, maybe it will be useful. I think there is a universe where AI can actually make creativity a lot more accessible but useful, and like give people, you know, help when they're creating their own stuff. But it'll be regulated to a point where this needs to be made by someone, but maybe an AI checks over for it for copyright issues, or checks over it for like things that change over, like sort of resemble a script that they've already seen before, and they go, oh, we can't use that.
I mean, they always tend to, you get buzzwords, especially in like when selling technology as opposed to like what the technology actually is itself, where like for the last decade it's been algorithms, and now it's an almost identical thing, and now everything's being called AI, and you'll always find like the different subsets of this is how they're just branding and marketing and selling it to you, when it's like this, I don't know, it's just kind of, it all ebbs and flows, but it does seem like AI is going to be around for a while.
Yeah, we're just in the very, very early stages, but people think we're like 20 years into it.
But also,
I
there's
think
like...
it is a very... So I think it's just a very vocal minority who are saying that like, oh, AI is the future right now, and like it is going to take over imminently. But
because there's so many amazing practical uses for it, like it auto-detecting what's being said in a video to then have subtitles and captions for people who like are hard of hearing and whatnot. And obviously, I know it's not like fully...
That does steal a job as well.
Yeah.
True, but then also you think on like a YouTube video or just like a TikTok or something. Like I've tried to add my own captions to TikToks when I've uploaded them, and it just doesn't let you. And like I literally have the script here, and it just won't let you do it.
But I know
on YouTube at least some YouTubers do just hire people to just do the...
Yeah. I will say in that vein of it's stealing jobs sort of thing, is as much as that is the case, you have to sort of show that sort of same level of mentality if you are going to with a lot of other things, because when you go into a supermarket and you're using self-checkout all of the time, it's like that's a job that was someone like a few years ago, and now it's not.
Yeah, true.
Like we found this to be easier, so now we do it. That's just what will happen at some point, and like at some point you'll stop realizing that was a job. I think the subtitling thing, I subtitle using Adobe right now whenever I do like the shorts and stuff, because Adobe has a really good subtitling tool. That's not a point that I need to then get someone I'd have to pay someone to do it in a different language, but an AI would eventually be able to do that, or Adobe in maybe 2 years maybe be able to do that. Like they're the ones that pioneered AI voices. they'd shown that off in like 2017. I think it's just a point of we are not there yet, and at some point it'll be useful, and it'll be regulated to a point where we will still find a use for it, and it might take away some jobs, but we need to then create new industries that then create jobs for the people that lost them, which aren't, it's not the most sustainable practice in the world. This comes to like we've gone from Guardians to a very existential sort of thought, but it is a idea of how it's not sustainable long term to have an AI take everyone's job. Like we can't. At that point, capitalism doesn't work ever. You can't have anyone making money.
Does it? No.
So
But it's like in school they'd always say like, oh, whatever percent of the jobs that you'll be doing like haven't been invented yet. It was quite like an eye-opening thing where then I was speaking to like Z and she was like, oh yeah, no, my current job is like didn't exist 5-10 years ago and it's what I'm doing now. And it's just like, oh yeah, no, that's true, because like little jobs pop up and everything and they become like bigger and more important and what have you. So it's like intimacy coordinators on set, like sustainability coordinators and what have you, where it's like these are important roles that haven't been around forever, that it's nice to see now being like implemented. And so it's like, it'd just be nice to make sure everyone can work and live, but cost of living crisis and fuck the Tories. It's election day today.
Go out.
I don't know if it is over in Jersey, but it's election day.
Go out and vote, even though this is like several days later.
Yeah. No, not several days. We're getting this one out quickly.
It's not coming out today.
Circling back to the main topic of today's episode, do they want to have anything else they want to say about Guardians?
I think I'm good.
I did realise, strangely for a Guardians film, we've not brought up the music at all.
Loved it.
Yeah, the music was good.
Choices.
Interesting question for you. Out of the three films, obviously one, first off, which is your favourite Guardians film, and two, which do you think has the best soundtrack?
Two.
Ooh.
For both.
Yeah, I'd have to say, yeah.
Because when you have that, when you needle drop Fleetwood Mac, like you can't, you just can't beat it.
It was just good. It's just perfect.
Because it was the start of Guardians 3 where it felt like, because it cut to so many songs at once, it felt like, I obviously understand that's what they were doing because they were showing the power of the Zune, but it felt a bit like, oh okay, they know music's their thing now, as opposed to here's a song that just fits this scene perfectly.
Yeah, I didn't find any of the music, like a lot of it was good, a lot of it was really good, but there was no like moment in this film where the music really gelled as much for me as the other two. There was no like
No Sleep Till Brooklyn
or
No Sleep Till Brooklyn, definitely. That was fucking
that whole
insane.
hallway fight scene. I know you were like, oh, that was like the roller coaster moment, and actually I was gonna say back then, I did go into this because I wanted to, because I saw someone speaking about how like there's always like the pause for like clap moment, and I went into it thinking like I'm gonna try and like pay attention to that, because especially in UK cinemas we never get like the
clap,
massive cheering or anything.
No.
So there's one person going, spiffing.
Yeah.
And then they lift up their finger and take a
yes.
Jolly good.
I think maybe I just got I forgot about it as soon as I was in. I think I just got fully sucked into the film. But I didn't really notice any moments like that, but maybe I'm just not looking at it as critically as maybe you guys were. But I think
don't get me wrong. I only said it because I'm a cynical bastard. Like,
no.
I did enjoy the film.
No, I just even like the fight scenes. It felt more like a celebration of the team being reunited than like a look at this kind of thing.
And that's why it works.
I think I've said before, maybe not on the podcast, but I got really sick of Baby Groot immediately. It was just everywhere. And Teenage Groot, I didn't really give that much of a shit about. I am so fucking happy that we have Adult Groot back, or had, but not that he's dead, but that we're probably not going to see him for a while now. Just because it was in that fight scene where it was like you had like Rocket like crawling all over him again, and it was like just, I don't know, it just brought me back to like the first film.
That's something. Sorry.
I don't know, I just had the biggest fucking like dumb grin on my face that whole fight scene, but yeah.
I thought there was going to be one more flashback, and it was going to be Baby Rocket flying off, and then he like crash lands somewhere, and I thought it was going to be him meeting Groot and Groot saving him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not ready to see like Groot from First Guardian. I was like, I was getting ready for the emotion, and then just didn't explore it. But I thought that would have been like just even if it was like only like a 2-minute scene or something. I feel like that would
could have been really nice.
Tied it in.
It could have also been a solo kind of thing where it's like, here's all the major moments from Rocket's past, all in like one weekend. You know, like he escaped and met Groot in the same. I mean, it could have happened. To be fair, it's not as bad as Solo, but. Not that I'm saying Solo is bad, I actually quite like it, but more like here's every important thing about Han Solo happened in one heist.
Is it not established in 1 where they meet each other in the prison?
Rocket and Groot?
Yeah, I thought that
So
happened.
No, they were already like out bounty hunting together. They got arrested together. It could have been nice though seeing how Groot technically raised Rocket up as well, only for then Rocket to then raise Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do like the fact of like, no, the Groot from the first one is dead. Like this is his son basically. Overall,
what would you give the film out of should we say out of 5 or out of 10?
You can read my review on Letterboxd.
Oh, I've not put one up yet. Shall I? Let me read Michelle's one now.
Don't want to spoil your Letterboxd.
Put it up on the screen.
My review is No Sleep Till Brooklyn because I didn't want to spoil it.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. Because I think that was just that moment made me happy. I was happy to hear the Beastie Boys and them just doing their shit.
Michelle.
I have 4
only 4
stars. Yeah, I think it's because I think I would put Guardians 2 much higher than that because just Guardians 2 is.
Yeah, I'm torn. On one hand, I feel like this is
I don't think worse
maybe
film,
a better made
but,
film. There were less. Right, I'm torn because 2 hit me the most emotionally. It just came out at a point in my life where a lot of the themes and like the issues they just really hit home for me. This one, I don't think I actually cried during this one, but it got me the most times where I almost was. And I think.
I don't know if it was just late or whatever, but I cried a lot.
Maybe I wasn't tired enough. When I see this again, maybe I will. But because I probably will go see this again.
Yeah.
Which is probably the first time I've said that about a Marvel film since Endgame. Oh, Spider-Man actually. I don't know. I think this one felt the most like just an actual film though, rather than a piece of cog. I think all of the Guardians have felt like that though. So I think I feel bad saying that the first one is probably my least favorite because it's still a brilliant film. It's just I think the other 2 edge it out for me. So maybe it is the second one first.
It might just be that like the first one is because it had to do so much to establish a world that people didn't know. Like you've known Spider-Man since I've known Spider-Man since I was born. Like it was like coming out at that point, sort of thing. So
even before the films, he was massive and
so like it comes from a point of you come up with Spider-Man. You were really excited about Spider-Man when they got announced that it was in the MCU sort of thing, and then we all grew up with Iron Man and Thor because I watched Thor when I was a fucking kid as well. Like it was. You knew about these characters growing up, and then all of a sudden you were told to care about. You were told, "Oh look, we're showing the Guardians of the Galaxy." You're like, "What? Oh, we're going to space now? This is sick. What the fuck?"
Do you remember the amount of
this was new,
Marvel's taking a risk? This is going to be their first flop.
Yeah.
It was new.
Look at us now,
sort of thing, and then it just sort of worked.
I don't think that impacts my enjoyment of it because that's not even like based off my first viewing because I still I watched it again the other day.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that it's like it had to do a lot because of it.
Yeah, but I also don't think that impedes my enjoyment of it at all. I wouldn't say. At least I've never thought it has. I just think maybe it's because it's the oldest one and I've seen it the most. There's probably some recency bias going on as well, and I think endings always get me as well. I think I'm just a very quite sentimental person, so like saying goodbye to the characters.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a solid trilogy. 2 to me does so much that just works all the time. Like it is the most daddy issues that fucking the MCU has ever done, but it really it just worked for me so
in a
much.
cinematic universe of daddy issues, it daddied too close to the sun and it worked.
And get like 5 different ones going on at the same time.
Did you ever think that you'd be tearing up at a CGI raccoon wailing at a dead CGI otter?
Probably some point,
Hmm.
but no, not. Didn't think this soon.
Oh, actually, that one weirdly got me the most. It was when like Floor in the background was just constantly like crying, like we're gonna go now.
Yeah.
Just trying to get Rocket to go.
The moment where after she's like shot, she's looking up and she's like, "Oh, sky." It's just like,
Yeah.
oh fuck.
When he
You
meets
know?
them again in heaven, and he's just like breaking down, like, "Can I come too?" And then they get, and you said it earlier, Mish, but it's just like you can, but not yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. I think we're repeating ourselves a lot now.
I think we are. We're just yeah.
It's a good fucking film.
It's really good.
It's worth watching. And then we also talked about AI.
Yeah. And I think I slagged off Renfield a little bit and Ant-Man and 4. All right.
Aidan, you didn't say your rating.
Yeah, what was
Oh,
your
my
rating?
rating. I want to give it 10, but I know that's probably recency bias.
10 out of 5? Holy shit.
10 out of 5, guys. I'll give it 4.5, maybe. Oh no, but my only issue with 2 is the taser face bit and the you know when they're going through the portals and like their faces are warping. I just found those really like, I don't know. I just didn't
Snapchat
enjoy those bits
filter.
at all. Yeah, I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah, but did you not see the
this is
emoji in this one?
The emoji. The guy did it in the last film. The guy who does the. That's how he speaks.
Yeah.
I can tolerate that. No, this is the best. This one. All the jokes. There wasn't a single joke that I thought I like groaned at. Really.
Like there were some predictable ones, like when he was like Peter was speaking to Gamora and stuff, and they're in the suits. I was like, oh, okay, so they're all going to be listening to this right
Yeah.
now.
I still thought it was funny.
It was
Oh,
a
yeah,
funny
no, it's still
moment where they were
It's-
describing how it was like it was actually quite intuitive, but it definitely wasn't. I think that was just
Well, when
funny.
he's like, yeah, red is black, black is yellow. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I would rate the film a knee slap and a half. Like you go in for the knee slap, and then you come back a little bit. Like that's
I think
the
I'll give it a
official
Out of
version,
5, that's
rating
insane.
of the.
I'll give it a 4 with room to go up. I don't see it dropping below a 4 for me.
Yeah,
It was a good.
it's weird because out of 5 it feels like 4's about right, but then you think of it out of 10 it feels like 7.5's right, but then that would then be 3.5.
If it was out of 10, I'd maybe go like 8.5.
Yeah.
Because I know 2 would be higher probably, but I don't think 2 is a 10.
Yeah, I don't think 2 is a 10 either.
It's weird how it scales. But
Yeah.
for me, like, 3 out of 5 is like, this is a good film. This is a like good, maybe not average, but like good film. Like 2 is like, it's a bit shit, but it's enjoyable. 1 is like,
Maybe.
This is Renfield.
Maybe number scales don't work.
Maybe
Maybe.
it's weird to try and categorize our enjoyment of things by
A percentage
binary
rating on
rating,
a
yeah.
random
Binary
website.
metric. Whenever I think of numbers, I always think of the numberjack facts and how I miss them. Aidan, where have they gone?
Can
Well,
you give us
they're
another
dead.
one today?
Did you know that number 4 was actually supposed to make a cameo appearance in Guardians 3
Oh, really?
as a teaser for both Guardians 4 and the branching Numberjack cinematic universe? Guillermo del Toro was actually in talks to redirect his project he was working on. The Del Toro verse will live on.
With the numberjacks.
Cut all that bit out. It just doesn't make it. It's not as good anymore.